Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today with me. I'm so glad that you've traveled over to Bravo with Sheila. Uh, the network, it is just the network now. Although we still talk to women, we talk to men, but it is the network, right? To bring you information, to enrich your life, to just love on you a little bit, to help you get through this thing called life. And I'm here today. My name is Sheila Ingram. I am a licensed professional counselor, among other things. But today, I'm wearing the counselor's hat. And I haven't been here in a while, so forgive me. I have been multitasking, but I'm so glad that you are here today. We are going to chat about some important information. I want you to sit back, get a cool beverage, and if you have not given yourself a bravo today, I want you to touch your mind, your heart, or your soul, or wherever you need encouragement, and give yourself a bravo just because. And you do not need permission. No one knows what you're walking through, what you wake up to, and how you're pressing, even now through this day. But I want to let you know that all things are possible. And we're going to sit and talk about a couple of things today that I think is so very, very important. So many people are coming to chat with me. So many people have been in sessions with me concerning their relationships being toxic and how do they cope? What do they do? Right? I want you to know that we will not let this be a fatal attraction. We will not. We're going to start out with a little information on a slide and then we'll jump into is your relationship toxic? Signs and how to cope. So get a cool beverage, sit down, relax, and let's hang out for a little while. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Let me just put something up so that you guys can know when you come in. I really need your support to do what? Hit that like button, share, and post. Here you go. There you go. That's a reminder as you come into this area, this platform, this stage, this broadcast, however you want to title it, that is not important. What is important is that you help me get this contact out. And I want, and not contact, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word, this information out. All right, listen, I guess I want to use the word contact. So go ahead and contact someone and let them know that we're live and we're on, and that I'm bringing this to you for the first time for you to sit back and relax and get that cool beverage or that hot beverage, and let's talk a little bit about fatal attraction, right? Will not happen in your life. It just won't. I won't let it happen. It's not going to happen. And we're going to move forward now so that you can be all that you need to be in your life. Let's get it going. Fatal attraction. We want to start out with this little information. It's around 6 or 7 slides before we get into is your relationship toxic? Signs and how to cope with it, right? So we want to get into that. And I want you to understand that if you have questions, you can reach out to me. You can always reach out to me. And I will answer your email at Bravo with Sheila Ingram, right? Bravo with Sheila Network. I am so like not into it, right? I'm just so relaxed today. I need to wake up a little bit. It's early, early, early when I'm trying to get this information out to you. So please forgive me. It's the Bravo with Sheila Network. I'm also going to be streaming on the Sheila Ingram Ministry Broadcast Network. So let's get into fatal attraction. Let's get into this slide before we even get into is your relationship toxic and me leaving you with signs and how to cope. You will not have a fatal attraction. Let's move. Toxic relationships, the objective here, objective one is to define what is a toxic relationship and its red flags. And then the objective two is to discuss the emotional effects of toxic relationships. And then we move to provide strategies to identify and leave a toxic relationship. We move forward to understand that 85% percentage of toxic relationships, listen, have some level of toxicity according to experts. Then we read the trends about this, the column of the trends, a graph displaying the level of toxicity in relationships over time, showing an upward trend until a point where it plateaus and begins to decline. The graph will include markers for key events that cause changes in the trend. So we have graph number one, as you can see, at 20, and then we see it at rising above 20 on item two. Then item three, it's continuing to move. And item four, this graph is moving. So toxic relationships, in a recent survey conducted by a toxic team, right? They have a team that deals with toxicity, and then their teams research statistics, and they find that toxic relationships can be a huge cause of stress and anxiety for individuals. And the data collected showed a clear correlation between individuals experience toxic relationships and increased levels of mental illness. Say it again. I heard you. I heard you. It shows a clear correlation between individuals experience toxic relationships and increased levels of mental illness. So the line graph provides a clear visual representation of the data that has been collected and the highlights and the importance of prioritizing healthy relationships. Stop, pause, and reflect and look at this graph. Toxic timeline. Let's look at a real quick timeline here. The beginning, we fell in love. It was wonderful. We felt good. We were texting, we were talking, we were going out to dine and eat, getting to know each other. Some of you may have gone to a park, going to a museum, took a walk. What? We fell in love and started our journey together. We're talking about the first steps of you placing your feet in this journey that you were about to take or you're going to take. And then you'll talk about what is distance past, right? Things started off great, but what happened? What happened? Slowly, what slowly changed? Recent past, we tried to fix things, but it didn't work out. What happened to the beginning when we fell in love? What went on that shifted this feeling of bliss, that shifted this feeling of connection? And then the present, I knew it was time to move on. Where we started is not where we are now in this relationship. Why? This is a toxic timeline. Something shifted, something happened. The representative that you met left, and the real person showed up. And so we have to be so very careful in our relationships, whether it's with male, female, friends, groups of people, co-workers. A relationship is a relationship, and any relationship can become toxic. So what happens in the beginning of a relationship where it's husband and wife, right? What happened in that season where you were engaged, when you were courting? What happened to where you find yourself now? You've lost touch with each other. Something has been broken down. We're talking today about toxicity. I thank you for even letting me share this with you. I am going to leave this fatal attraction picture up while we segue through the conversation that we're going to have right now. Let's get into what I want to say to you. All right. And I'm going to come back and forth to this photo so that we can remember what's going on right here as we talk about what the fatal attraction and is your relationship toxic and signs and how to cope. Let's get into it right now. I will come back as a reminder and put that picture back up of fatal attraction. You will not have fatal attractions going on in your life, in your children's lives, in the generations to come, because you're going to be the game changer. You're going to be the shifter. You're going to be the one that's going to pay attention enough to understand that when nothing changes, nothing changes. And what do you have to do? You have to keep it moving. You have to keep it moving. And so I want you to know that everything I'm saying today is for information purposes only. I want you to understand that you can take some of these nuggets and apply them to your lives or pass them on to someone else who indeed might be in need of this information. I just feel like putting this back up because I want it to be in your face. I want it to be in your face. That's what I want it to be. So let's get into this. You can just sit back and chill out and just take heed to what I am saying. I am just going to give you some signs of how to cope, some signals, right? Persistent jealousy and lack of support and feeling like you have to walk on eggshells around your partner or anyone, right? May be signs of an unhealthy relationship. So I want you to know in a healthy relationship, everything just kind of works. It just works, right? You may disagree from time to time, or change may come and you'll have to shift some things in your relationship. But for the most part, everything just seems like it's working. And when things do come to challenge the relationships, understand that there will be bumps in the road. Still, you generally make decisions together. Right now, we're talking about relationships, personal relationships with someone you're engaged to, someone you're married to, someone you're getting ready to hook up with or be with. I want you to understand and realize there are signals for you to stop, pause, and reflect. So, toxic relationships are another story. They're opposite than a healthy relationship. In an unhealthy relationship, you may consistently over and over feel drained or unhappy after spending time with your partner, right? According to relationship therapists, this may suggest that some things need to what? I heard you. They need to change. Maybe the relationship, what, is no longer, it feels enjoyable, though you still love your partner. For some reason, you always rub each other the wrong way. Have anyone been in a situation like this where you rub each other the wrong way? You might even get to the point where you dread seeing this person. You dread it. You don't even want to be around them. You started out loving and hanging out and chilling with each other. Now it's you don't even want to be around this person. So let's get into some of the things I want to share with you. So, depending on the nature of the relationship, signs of toxicity can be subtle, they can be very subtle or highly obvious, right? They can be subliminal, but they can be highly obvious. And when you're in a toxic relationship, you may not always find it easy to notice the red flags. You can't always see it or feel it, right? Because they can be sneaky. They can appear to be one thing, but they're another. You could also notice some of these signs, what, in yourself, right? Your partner or the relationship itself. So that means you have to put the spotlight and the searchlight on yourself as well. So you might find lack of support, right? And a short time you spend together no longer feels positive, right? You don't feel supported or encouraged. You can't trust them to show up for you. Instead, you might get the impression, listen, that your needs and interests don't matter. These are early on signals. They only care about what they want. This is an early on signal that we need to pay attention to. We're talking about fatal attraction. Is your relationship toxic? Signs and how to cope. Let's talk about the toxic communication. Instead of kindness and mutual respect, most of your conversations are filled with sarcasm or criticism, or it may be fueled what? By contempt. Listen to me. These are the beginning stages of understanding what you need to do and recognize. Don't be caught sleeping. Do you catch yourself making snide? Do you catch yourself making snide remarks to your friends or family members? I want you to question yourself. Maybe you repeat what they said mockingly, right? This is attitude issues when they're in another room. Are you checking yourself before you even point a finger at someone else? You may even start dodging their calls just to get a break from the inevitable arguments and hostility. So you have to pay attention to your behavior, how it is shifting around family members, around people that you normally be around? Do you catch yourself like making really sarcastic remarks to people? Okay, let's talk about envy or jealousy. We're going to move quickly. While it's perfectly fine to experience a little envy occasionally, what word did I say? I heard you. Occasionally. It can explain that, an issue if your envy keeps you from thinking positively about your partner's successes. This is huge right here. You can start out the gate on even plane. You can start out being the breadwinner, then something shifts in the relationship, and then your partner begins to rise above you in the corporate world or in their financial situation, and all of a sudden the spotlight shifts a little bit, and you have to check yourself because you have to manage how you feel. You have to be emotionally intelligent to understand that you got into this relationship to build together. There is no big I and little U's. This is a team effort. But what happens many, many times is that people aren't prepared for their partner's growth. That means sometimes you realize where you started out in the gate. You opened the gate, you walked in together, you thought you were in love. It felt like love. But as you progressed in the relationships, people began to get blessed. Things began to enter into the relationship that would take the relationship really to another level financially. And something happens with one or the other in terms of this feeling now. You're recognizing this spirit of jealousy. You're recognizing the words and how the support is different because now the light has shifted. People have to really, you guys have to really figure out if this is where you want to be with this individual. You want to grow together, you want to build together. And it may so happen that a person may have been building before they met you, and all of a sudden their day has arrived and they become to rise up, right? Where you were the one in the beginning of the relationship that held most of the cards. So envy and jealousy is something you need to really check the meter inside of you and keep watching how you change and things you say. Envy or jealousy can break down a relationship very quickly, but people will stay in a relationship even when these signs happen. They won't communicate, they won't share with each other. They're scared to say something for fear of rejection or resentment, so they just stay quiet. But in the meantime, say in the meantime, I heard you. It's manifesting and it's escalating behind the scenes quietly in the hearts and minds of your spouse. So the same goes for jealousy. Listen, it's a perfectly natural human emotion. It is a natural, but when it leads to constant suspicion and mistrust, right? Mistrust with my feelings, mistrust across the board, it can quickly what? It can just tear down a relationship, and the relationship can quickly erode. I want you to pay attention to this. Now, I want to mention now controlling behaviors. Does your partner ask you where you are all the time? Huh? That's a question. Maybe they become annoyed or irritated when they don't immediately answer texts or text you repeated, right? Until just repeated text. Sometimes you send a text and someone's busy, they're caught up in a conversation, but because you expect someone to respond to you right away, because now your little mind is taking a little journey thinking that because the person, listen, didn't answer your text right away, this is a control here that has to be watched. It's about the text game these days. Everything happens in text. It's annoying sometimes that people do not pick up the phone and communicate where you can hear each other's voice. This world has been dominated now with this social media and digital devices where you use texts to just constantly communicate and trust and believe. A text can be misinterpreted, or if you don't respond right away, maybe your phone died, maybe you're somewhere else. People just get all twisted in their thinking and in their mind with things like this. This is a sign. We have to talk about these things so that everyone remains comfortable and everyone remains in a space of trust. Let's talk about resentment, holding on to grudges and letting them fester, chips away at what? I heard you. The word is intimacy. Oh my God. Now we've just segued and walked into the intimacy area of a relationship. And over time, frustration or resentment can build up and make it a big deal, right? When it's not a big deal. So, whether you tend to nurse these grievances quietly because you don't feel safe, listen to me, speaking up when something bothers you, your relationship could be toxic if you can't trust your partner. Communication, communication, communication. We must listen to each other's concern, because guess what happens? It segues straight way into dishonesty. You find yourself constantly making up lies now because you want to either make up something to create an atmosphere to where the person, now you're tailoring things that you shouldn't have to tailor. Simple things like the text, why you didn't answer. Simple things, you didn't pick up the phone. Your phone was, you need to communicate. What? Because dishonesty creeps in. People start to think, where are you at? What are you doing? Who are you with? Whether that's because you want to avoid spending time with your partner, or you worry how they'll react if you tell them the truth. You have to, please listen to me. Do not get in a space where you feel like you can't be vocal, where you can't express where your feelings are. And no matter what it is, the communication lines must remain open. Communication, communication, communication. Patterns of disrespect is huge. Mainly, it says that being chronically late, listen, casually forgetting events or other behaviors that show disrespect for your time, or are there red flags? They're red flags. Listen to me. Patterns of disrespect. You may not think you're not disrespecting your partner, right? But you are, if you're not staying on top of things that you have to be concerned about in your partner's life. It may not be important to you, but it's important to that person that you're with. So you can't take for granted someone's time. You can't chronically show up late. You can't casually forget events and certain things that are important. It shows a level of disrespect. You got to keep in mind that some people may have difficulty making and keeping plans on time. So, again, communication, communication, communication. So, it may help if you start out with a conversation about this behavior. You need to talk about it. If not, it will fester and it'll cause resentment in the relationship, because it'll appear as if you're slacking up and you're taking someone for granted. Even if it's not intentional, you might notice some improvement after you explain why it bothers you. Speak up, speak up, speak up. Negative financial behaviors is huge. Sharing finances with a partner often involves some level of agreement, right? About how you'll spend or save your money. It's not necessarily unhealthy if one partner chooses to spend money on items the other partner disapproves of. Because what? I heard you. Communication, communication, communication. But it can be toxic, though. If you've agreed about your finances and one partner consistently disrespects and they break the agreement, whether by purchasing, huge amount of money, things like big tickets items, or withdrawing large sums of money from the account. It's very important to stay on the same page, because constant stress ordinarily changes life. It will change life of family members, illness, or job loss. Things happen in life that cause stress and causes relationships to break down, or have to have what? Reevaluation with it, reassessment, go back to the drawing board. Why? Because when life happens, and we know that life be life and all the time. So when life happens, we have to go back. Don't ignore these things. Have a real conversation. Like I said, it may be about a serious illness, a job loss, right? It can create tension in your relationship, but finding yourself constantly on the edge, right? Even when you're facing stress from outside sources, it is a critical, listen to me, a critical indicator that something is off. So again, I hear you. What am I getting ready to say? Communicate, communicate, because the ongoing stress can take a toll on physical and mental health. And you might frequently feel, not sometimes, frequently feel miserable, mentally and physically exhausted. This is so very important. I don't want you ignoring your needs. Please don't do that. Going along with whatever your partner wants to do. Don't just sit there like you don't have a voice and your voice is not important. Even when it goes against your wishes or comfort level is a sign, a sure sign of toxicity. Listen to me. Going along with whatever your partner wants to do, and you feel totally uncomfortable with it, you don't feel like you have a voice, your voice has been silenced, because take accountability with yourself that you need to speak up so that a person will understand how you're thinking and what your needs are. Let's talk real quick about a lost relationships. You stop spending time with friends and family. This is huge when you're in a toxic relationship. The person has now gained so much control over you that they've shut down the relationships that in your village that have meant something to you all your life, part of your life. But now in this relationship, they come along and they've chipped away at you to where, boom, here comes the hammer right here. You stop spending time with friends and family, either to avoid conflict with your partner or to get around having what? To explain what's happening in your relationship. So you'll stay home. You won't go around them, because guess what? Your surrounding people, your village, people you've been in contact with prior to this relationship will feel and understand, see and notice something's off with you. Something has changed in you. So you think by staying away, creating lines and scenarios to talk to your friends or your family, making up stories why you can't see them, why you can't attend a family event. They will notice this behavior. Now, this is very serious now. This is bad, because now your life is being altered, all because this one person has come in with what? Toxicity in your life. So lack of self-care will begin to kick in now, right? I'm telling you, in a toxic relationship, you might let go of your usual self-care habits. I see it all the time. You stop dressing the way you make that makes you feel good. You stop keeping your hair done. You start just letting yourself go. You start eating abundantly, right? You start gaining weight. Something is off. This is for male and female. This is not a male thing nor a female this is a male female thing. Both are toxic. Both people can be very toxic. The genders can be very, very toxic. I need you to pay attention of the lack of self-care. You might withdraw from hobbies that you once loved. Come on. You neglect your health and sacrifice your free time. This is not healthy. My sisters and brothers, this is not healthy. This might happen because you don't have the energy for these activities. Why? Because you feel depleted emotionally, right? You feel depleted, but your partner is cool in the gang. Your partner is fine because the chain around your neck and your feet has a tighter grip on you, and you are still what? Not talking, not communicating, hoping for change. If nothing changes, nothing changes. You have to change. Something has to change in order to see a change, some type of change. How big of a change? I'm not telling you. I'm telling you a change must happen. A change, a small change, getting back to your normal hobbies. That's a change. Calling the people you used to call. That's a change. Make the effort to change, because when nothing changes, nothing changes. Right here, I'm putting this back up. You will not, absolutely not, be a fatal attraction emotionally, physically, mentally. You will not. We will not have it. It will not happen to you. Let's get back into it. Oh my goodness. I hope that you are hearing this. I hope that you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm hoping that everything is going well. Let's see if something has happened with my sound here. All right. I think we're back. All right. Walking on eggshells. You worry that by bringing up problems, you'll provoke extreme tension. So you become, you become conflict avoidant and keep any issue concerns to yourself. No, look, listen to me. Listen to me. Walking on eggshells. You worry that by bringing up problems, in other words, communicating your fears, communicating how you feel with a relationship has spiraled to, communicating what you're going through emotionally. Now you're mute. You're on mute. Oh my God, you're on mute now. So you think that if you speak up at this point, you'll provoke extreme tension. So you become conflict avoidant. We're going to talk about conflict avoidance in another video later on. You keep all your concerns to yourself. Is it possible? Oh my God, here we go. Is it possible to fix a toxic relationship? Many people assume toxic relationships are like it's a wrap, it's a doom, but that isn't always the case. The deciding factor, what did I just say? The deciding factor, both partners must want to change. Why? Because when nothing changes, right? If only one partner is invested in creating healthy patterns, there is, I'm getting ready to say a big word, unfortunately, little likelihood that change will occur. So here's a few signs before I leave you that you might be able to work things out together. Acceptance of responsibility. If you and your partner know the relationship is struggling and want to improve it, if you're on the right track, listen, it mainly adds that recognizing, here's the word you have to recognize, right? Own up, recognize past behaviors that have harmed the relationship. This point right here is vital on both ends. You have to look at yourself and your partner has to look at themselves. It reflects an interest in self-awareness. Emotionally intelligence comes into play, self-responsibility, right? So in other words, both partners should accept their part in contributing to the toxicity, right? You have to be responsible for your own actions, from resentment to jealousy to not speaking out about concerns and disappointments. So you, the person who is dealing with, who feels like they're choking in a relationship, you have a responsibility to yourself and to the relationship as well. You have to hold yourself accountable for allowing this person to come into your life and shut down your voice and put you on mute. You have to challenge the change. If you love this person and this person came from a root system of being challenged and torn apart, whatever that root system they came in and brought to you, maybe they have a legitimate reason why their behavior is like this. But the only way to get to the root of this is to communicate. I want you to have a willingness to invest. You have to have a willingness to invest. Are you and your partner willing to invest in improving the relationship? If you are, bravo to you. That's a really good sign, right? It just may manifest by an interest, right? In a deep conversation. Remember, communicate, right? Setting aside regular blocks of time. Now, this has to be intentional because we're trying to get back on the track of that love train. We're trying to get back on the track of the super beautiful relationship you started out the gate with. So you intentionally, on purpose, have to block out a set amount of time for spending what? Quality time together. Is there still a date night in the mix? Is there a date night? I don't think so. If this has spiraled to this, then you have to place a date night. Hopefully, it was in the beginning. Date night can't be tampered with. No one should mess with date night. No one, absolutely no one. Because when date night dissolves, oh my, things begin to happen. So that's a fixture. It's supposed to stay on your calendar. Shift. I want you to make a shift now from the blame game to understanding. This is where the communication that is offered, the understanding mixes inside of the communication, and what you thought was one thing may not be, because now the person and persons are communicating. So if you both steer the conversation away from blaming and being the finger pointer, you will move toward understanding, listen to me, and learning. This may cause a beautiful path for you to get back to that space where you were walking in the park, where you met that day, where love, love, love was in the air. So I want you to stop saying it's your fault or you always do XYZ. You might try, listen to me, say, I think we misunderstood each other. That's a freeing comment right there. I think we misunderstood. You misunderstood what I meant when I said I couldn't text you. You misunderstood the text I wrote. You misunderstood. We misunderstood, but you have to be in harmony. You have to be on one accord, because a house divided cannot stand. So you have to not use these words and be finger pointing. It's your fault. You always do X, Y, and Z, right? I want you to stay away from that if you're mending this. If not, if you're going to walk away, then make a decision to get out of this toxicity. All right. So I say, you could say, I understand why you're feeling stressed or upset. You have to, if you care about each other, the compassion has to be inserted back in. I understand why you're feeling stressed and upset. How can we work? Here's the word: together. How? How can we work together to get back to that space called there, that happy space? Where is your happy space? That's what I want to know. Sometimes you might need getting back to things on track, right? Through individual couples counseling. It is nothing wrong with having a third party come in and kind of steer you back, right, into a space where you can explore more about each other. Because when you come together, there's so many different life patterns and behaviors that you are merging together, and they're not always healthy behaviors. So there's no shame and getting professional help to address consistent relationship issues. Listen, sometimes you can pick up on everything contributing to the toxicity from inside the relationship with a relationship counselor or individual counselors, people who are trained to help you understand why you do what you do. Now, I want you to move forward. You can move forward. You can move forward. This is especially the case here, given that most toxic relationships often occur as a result of long-standing issues in a current relationship, or as a result of unaddressed issues from prior, what did I say? Prior relationships. So don't dwell on the past. This is a biggie. Drop that luggage at the door. Do not. Do not. Of course, part of repairing the relationship will likely involve addressing past events. Okay, that's obvious, that's normal, but this shouldn't be the sole focus of focusing on a relationship. Resist. Here's the word: resist the temptation to constantly refer back to negative scenarios, since this can leave what? Both of you tense and frustrated. View your partner with compassion. The word compassion. When you find yourself wanting to blame your partner for all the problems in the relationship, try taking a step back. Stop, pause, and reflect, right? And looking at the potential motivators behind their behavior. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. These challenges don't excuse bad behavior, but they can help you better understand where they come from. Now, start therapy. Get some therapy in. You may need 1 or 2 sessions. People think that when you go to therapy that you have to be there for indefinite time. That is not true. There are many people that I've counseled that took couple of sessions just to kind of stir them back on the right track, on the right road. I want you to find support. I want you to practice healthy communication. Pay close attention to how you talk to each other. Be gentle with each other and try to avoid the sarcasm and those indirect but direct jabs, right? Also use I statements, especially when discussing relationship issues. Not you, but I want us to begin to talk more. I would like us to share more time together. So instead, you don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't say that. You could say, I feel hurt when you take out your phone while I'm talking. Remember, put it on you and the person won't feel like there's an attack. I want you to be accountable. Both partners must acknowledge their part in fostering toxicity. Both. This means identifying and taking responsibility for your actions in the relationship. It also means committing to staying present and engaged during difficult conversations instead of avoiding discussions. Here we go. Heal individually. You have your healing, they have their healing. Together you come together whole, healed separately, but together, and continue healing with each other. Oh my goodness. Even you, if you're already, sorry, know your needs and your boundaries, it's worth revisiting them and then sharing them with your partners. Now, talking through boundaries is an excellent first step. Remember that boundaries are flexible, they're not in stone. Boundaries are flexible. So it's important to keep discussing them as they change over time, and they will change over time. I don't want to talk about the difference between abuse and toxicity. Maybe we'll come back and talk about that. Right now, I just want to end this broadcast right now because there's so much that I can come back and talk about. Maybe I'll do a part two and we'll finish up with the difference between abuse and toxicity. We'll talk about diminished self worth, chronic stress, separation from trends, interference with work or school. We'll talk about name calling. That's a big one. And putting each other down. Financial restriction, gaslighting. Ooh, we're going to get into the threats of harm, self harm, physical violence, and then we'll share how to leave a toxic relationship. Although I've given you a lot of information on what you need to do to tweak your relationship and to get out of a toxic relationship, I have given you enough information for you to at least start. Again, you will not be in a fatal attraction relationship. You will not, I said it, you will not be in a fatal attraction relationship. So I want you to just move forward with your life, move forward with your relationship, keep it moving. Know that when nothing changes, nothing changes. Fatal attraction? No. Remember, define what is a toxic relationship and its red flags. Discuss the emotional effects of toxic relationships. Provide strategies to identify and leave a toxic relationship. Please realize the ratio, the 85% of most relationships, won't say most, some relationships, the level is 85%. Remember that there's a graph, there is data that shows about toxic relationships. Relationships is a graph moving upward. And I want you to understand that there are eyes on this. It also creates mental health issues when it's not put in check. So remember the beginning. We fell in love and started our journey together. Then things became distant. Things started off great, but slowly changed. Then guess what? We tried to fix things, but it didn't work out. And I knew it was time to move on. I don't want you to move on if you don't have to. I want you to understand that there are some relationships that are worth, excuse me, worth saving. There are some relationships that can continue to be beautiful, but you have to do the work. And then there's those relationships that you have to put your skates on and skate on out. There's that revolving door. Get in that door, revolve on out of the relationship. So, once again, I thank you so much for being here with me today. Oh, it's been a wonderful time with you. When nothing changes, nothing changes. So, what do you have to do? You have to keep it moving. Remember, you can reach me at Sheila Ingram Ministries at gmail.com. You can reach me at Bravo with Sheila at gmail.com. You can also go to our website where we have so many things that we can offer you. It's Now You're Talking, and I don't know if you've seen the information on Now You're Talking, but I'll see if I can put it up for you. Now You're Talking, that is the company that we have, the counseling company, nowyouttalking.com. We have therapists and counselors. I want you to know that when nothing changes, and you have to make a change in order to see a change and to live in a change. I'd like you to do this for me. Now I want you to keep it moving. I'll be back. I don't know if I'll be back next week to finish this, but if you leave a comment in the chat, I mean, once we sign off, if you leave a comment afterwards, I would really, 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 really appreciate it. We are trying to continue to grow this channel, and I want you to know that all is well here. And as I bring you content and things to help you keep it moving, because we have to change. We just have to change. Whether you're kicking and screaming, a change has to come. Stay tuned for Monday night. Oh my God. Monday nights, we have a great show. Oh my goodness. Monday night's a great show. Tuesday, we're here. We have Wednesday on the Sheila Ingram Ministry channel. Tuesday morning, Sheila Ingram Ministry channel with Pastor Rosa at 10 a.m. And on Friday mornings at 11 o'clock, we are the women of grace. Three of us come on. We are walking through the lives of the women of the Bible, relating and understanding their changes and how we relate with some of the things they walk through. We are having a good time. Please tune in, subscribe, and like the channel, both channels. And what are we doing? Thursday night, Dawn B. Thursday night with Dawn B on the Bravo with Sheila Network. So many people are coming to the platform to help build you and enrich your lives. Listen, I'm here to help you move from pain to power and from power to victory. I love you today. Stay well. Remember, when nothing changes, nothing changes. So, what do you have to do? You have to keep it moving.